Holiness, I am astounded by your offer. It's such a nice offer to such a being such as myself. And I will certainly take your counsel into greatest consideration. And if anything comes up at all, you will be the first.
Anything is in your possession.
I don't
know where you have it, but I know there is an it. And if our new relationship needs to be built on trust, he has been kind of maneuvering step by step. He is not quite within reach, but he is now that sort of practical boundary between people. He's right at its edge at this point. It's now at the point where you're like, oh, that's the space that I don't want crossed.
Yeah. He's a bit too close physically.
Yeah, he's not like grabby or at you, but it's like, I was a lot more comfortable when you were 1 meter away.
And Moscow might actually take us to a few steps backwards, it's self-preservation sort of. She almost got beat up by a mob like a few hours ago, days ago. She's not,
There is a table there where you had been sitting, failing at your accounts.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Yep.
Then the statuette, as you said, is very safely, very safely on your person. And he is saying perhaps a letter, perhaps notes of credit, perhaps a commitment or a contract.
It's under consideration, your lordship, your highness, but I believe that is the property of David the merchant, who will be soon coming back to this place. It's not mine to give.
If he returns. Conditions in Henwin, I'm afraid, are most unstable.
Oh, but
and that would leave you. And really, who could possibly entrust? Could you even entrust yourself to such a responsibility, with such consequences for this Gary Keep and for Lord Patrick? Give it to me.
No, it's not mine to give if I have something. The letters, the accounts, they are private property. They do not belong to the church, they do not belong to the constable. They belong to David, the merchant, who will be coming back. Thank you, your lordship, your highness, your exalted being of this cult.
Yeah, none of those titles are appropriate. Now, I want you to pick a skill.
This is probably going to be a rhetoric, I believe.
Well, rhetoric, yeah.
That's probably the most fitting for this sort of.
But if you're thinking about it, you're not going to persuade him that this is the case, right? About the property and everything.
Yeah, because he knows. Yeah.
What are you persuading him?
Probably the authority that backs me up, sort of implicitly, with saying that sort of this is not like. I also have friends.
Right. So you're threatening him with your contacts. Okay. And that would mean, I'm trying to think. Yeah, whether he thinks it's actually, could he socially get away with actually trying to hurt you at this point? You're making it clear you're going to have to hurt me, and there are people who don't like it.
Yeah,
that's the message.
Yeah,
I understand correctly.
To be even more clear, I'm an agent of David. I work for him. He's my boss. He has contacts. He's himself an important person. You cannot take his property.
That would be a roll.
Yeah.
And I need to go look up some mechanics for certain things.
Critical failure.
Yep. Wow. Don't forget to check all your little critical failures on your sheets, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
So I believe a hide got its...
Yep.
stressfully. Both of these are pretty stressful, if you ask me. Okay, so how does that work? Each one is its own skill. No, this is the ritual skill. He's making a ritual invocation. At this point, here it is. Right. You guys have been speaking for about 10 seconds. He continues to talk and becomes much more reconciliatory and says, "You're right, I have overstepped and this was inappropriate. I'm very sorry. you are very loyal, etc. And he is completely full of shit because he is running out the clock on what he is saying. You realize there are syllables in what he is saying that are not quite the right for the words, or he's choosing words. This takes intelligence to choose words so that you get the right syllable for the ritual in. He can't do it with every one of the invocation, but he can slip it in to some of the words. So the question is whether you are going to realize that he is actually setting up an invocation as he is speaking.
Well, the ritual. I have 9.
No, this is not your ritual roll.
Oh, yeah.
This is definitely going to be some form of awareness.
Yeah.
And that is interesting. I don't want to spitball the rules because it would actually be sort of interesting if we used the
grappling,
the combat effect for like whether you notice his trick. But at the moment, I think it's just a matter of him rolling, and he is basically just he's effectively lying. So, and as someone like him is going to have a pretty decent rhetoric. Yeah. So the question is, but your behavior, it's more like this is more stealthy. Let me quickly look on this sheet. This is actually much more like communication. Yeah, it's a tricky version of rhetoric to hide this with a terrible roll. Marginal failure, which means that you've probably got a pretty good... that means to me that you get an awareness check, right? A critical... I'm just kind of trying to figure out the system in this regard. A critical success, I would say you're shit out of luck. Marginal success, who knows? I'd have to think about it for a second, but marginal failure, you've got a chance to notice this. Let's try your awareness. Maybe...
Ooh. Critical success.
Critical success. You totally get it. And you know this is Agric, which is the most well-known, and this is what they're famous for. They use it for torture on their ritual sacrifices, which is a pain, an agonizing grasp. So usually it's done with the full 30-second loud performative ritual, which he has been hiding and maneuvering at you so that he can actually just stun you out with an agonizing grab. So, yeah, you just realize that the power of the fire, death, and destruction and expansion of society and the takeover of everything God is building in this guy's palm.
And Oscar will simultaneously move towards the door he came in and say, "Get out of this room now, this meeting is over."
Wait, are you trying to get out or get him to get out?
Both.
That's a bit contradictory.
I guess, but it's not very rational when you almost get.
In that case, it's a matter of initiative. Who goes first?
Depends on what it reacts to. Let's see. I haven't.
I'm talking about the move.
55.
Because he's like on the balls of his feet in a way that might not have been evident just by casually watching him, but he has shifted his balance so that he is able to move in any direction. This guy is starting to look more dangerous than you thought because he was this little kind of sniveling guy, right?
And of course, the most powerful weapon when in upkeep with a lot of cards, shouting at people. It probably gets someone's attention more or less, especially when I move closer to the door.
So you're going to move to the door and shout?
I assume everything simultaneous. Sort of shouting and moving, sort of sidestepping towards the door.
Okay, what's your initiative though is the point?
55.
55. Okay, now this guy I'm not seeing as terribly physical. And so with his attributes, so if it's an average of 10 for all these physical metrics, and then you just add them together, they will be 50. That would be an average to dude.
Yeah, the
for that. And so therefore, and all of his big numbers are going to be in the other attributes. it seems to me. Like aura and things like that.
Yeah, then you're probably not.
And so you are going to be able to move first. So you're going to run to the door, you're going to shout, and this definitely is oratory. Even if it is not eloquent speech and everything like that, it's definitely a matter of
Getting
catching attention
yeah.
and alerting a group of people as to what is happening.
This one. Marginal failure.
Oh, okay. So that is definitely going to mean that you are calling out for help, but I suspect maybe either nobody is in, or people are barely in hearing, or somebody a little ways away says, "What was that?" At best.
Yeah, makes sense.
Not enough to come running. Even a marginal success would mean at least they would be interested. Somebody's like, "What was that?" And that's about it. So that's what you have done. And he is, he's going to be swiftly coming up upon you to attack.
Yes.
This, on the other hand,
So is this a normal attack or some special thing because it's a spell or whatever? Ritual sort of thing.
it is a normal attack for a spell.
Yeah, but it doesn't. Does it follow the normal sort of
Is the
order?
grapple or something?
Well,
This is
it's
melee combat specifically. I just saw.
yeah. Well, the no, it's not a grapple.
No.
And so what matters is that the victim must be touched, and that does strike me as an attack.
Yeah.
That
Right.
sounds like grappling.
Yeah, it sounds that he's got to actually get a hand on you.
Yeah.
Now, this is, of all the things fighting-wise, it's the one thing that this guy is probably good at,
Yeah.
right? So he's got a not too bad chance.
Yeah.
I assume it's a dodge on your part,
Yeah.
or whatever you want to do to, unless you want to,
Punch him out.
counter-strike in the jaw. He doesn't have that.
No, Oswin is unarmed.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
she doesn't carry weapons in the.
I know.
Could try a knee to the groin.
Although
Need
after
to
this moment,
Yeah,
I suspect a dagger on the inside thigh might not be a bad idea underneath the dress.
Probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna be a dodge. A 7-5 dodge.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, you are really agile.
Yeah.
Right. She's very slippery.
Yeah,
So
she's amazing
yeah.
lad drive.
Okay, go ahead.
Marginal success.
Marginal success.
MS and MS. It's
No
result.
miss.
In that case, you can slip out the door. And since you have the next move, I assume it's going to be a full sprint.
Yep.
Right, that's my guess.
Yeah, it makes perfect. It's completely in character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's going to be... Now, he is not going to be seen pursuing you through the corridors. So you have actually managed to escape the grasp of Agric.
Yep, literally.
Yeah.
Slip away.
So I think Osquin has had her scare for the watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where will you go?
Closest guard. Sort of run down the corridor, try to find someone who is armed and recognized.
Now, the circumstances, because a watch has proceeded through the course of this time, and I think that and since we have moved into the whole next watch from beyond you guys, that's a lot of time for things to have occurred in the community, which was very chaotic at the time. Yeah, there has been... It seems as though there has been a lot of organizing around that part of town where the people were gathering, and I think that it's probably not very nice. I mean, I think they were scared by the one guy who got speared, and so but since then everybody has been really busy, which actually means that finding whoever was told to stay behind means that there aren't that many people, right? Yeah. And of course, when you do, I mean, Sir Petron had probably told them keep us, take care of her.
Mm.
Right. So the guards in question are probably going to be reasonably sympathetic.
Yeah.
But Agric will pad in on his little feet with his hands in his sleeves, and he will say, "Oh, it looks like Osquin has had a bit of a fright. Well, do take care of her." And move on his way.
Hear of this.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, he's probably going to hear of this from Orthas.
Depends on who gets to it first.
Precisely.
Mm-hmm. I still have some hours in this watch, and this is pretty outrageous, to be honest.
You are ready for. You are ready to go and tattle on this guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, assaulted a woman. This is not okay.
She needed the guidance of Agric. She was.
No, I don't.
Now,
Unsolicited advice.
let's see what happens now. Back in time to our situation here. You're putting your life at risk.
Oh yeah.
These are not quite. This is quite not quite a sacrifice.
No.
I'm going to put it at the same percent as fasting and prayer,
Okay.
which is 50%.
Yeah.
So what you have done so far, I think, is worth a 50% check for a piety point.
Okay.
Ah.
Two.
Yeah.
Get that.
Okay.
Yep.
And so 1d6. Oh, okay. Right. I'm just seeing how much you get for all sorts of things. There are feasts and variable sacrifices and stuff like that. But yes, this will be 2 piety points.
Yes.
So anytime you feel like
I'm still a long way away.
Okay.
I think you, in the examples you had like 100 points or something like that.
well, I don't
that high.
I think it was surprisingly high.
There is one. I think I saw one example character was sort of a high priest or something.
Yeah.
Like 400 and something. But that is a high priest, so
Yeah, but
he has
then you
lifetime.
spend the piety points.
Yes, you spend them to add to your percent.
Yeah, and the
alright.
percentage is
Yeah. Your starting percent is fairly low.
yeah.
And so you are trying to
There's
Yeah.
a table, isn't there?
So one-
For-
yeah,
if
you
I want
need
to mine
it's right here.
Yeah.
You need in the high 80s or low 90s, and then the piety points drop it lower and lower and lower because you're trying to roll high.
Increase it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Increase it.
So I don't know why they structured it like that when everything else in the game is
Yeah.
structured that
Exactly,
way,
yeah,
but
yeah.
they did.
Yeah.
So, but the point is that you definitely would be, you're still in the 80s,
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
if you
So-
even if you blew them all.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, anyway,
Because I think it's the thing's turn.
Yeah. It's in the
that's
round.
true. That's true. And the creature has its priorities.